This is a belated update for January 28, 2023, day 339 of the war, end of the date update. Sorry for delay, but sometimes things don't work out perfectly. So I just want to do, it's going to be fairly short just to catch up and to kind of like update everyone. So you probably seen that Israel and probably US in coordination with US hit um, military assets in Iran, which is mostly focused on UAV production. So this is just another maybe sign or factual evidence that the war is spreading, and it's never been the war between really Ukraine and Russia. As I said before, this is Russia's, Chinese, and Iranians' aggression against the West because they feel weakness of the West. There are other sort of countries in the wings, such as South Africa, may join, who potentially Vietnam. So there, this is not. This is just sort of clear, identified part of the sort of tip of the iceberg. That's probably the best way to describe how to look at this. There are more countries in the wings. I'm not talking even about North Korea. That's, I mentioned this many times before. That is really extension of China, the same way how Belarus is extension of Russia. It just being kept sort of independent, in quotes, for the reasons, for diplomatic reasons. The same as, for example, Soviet Union had those 15 so-called republics, which obviously they were never republics of anything. It was just parts of the was dictatorship. But for example, Ukraine had its own representation in this in the United Nations. So the same is true for North Korea, and the same is true for Belarus. So and it also allows China to do sort of, how would say, dirty things with some, but at the same time formally be clean. So it's in a way kind of like, your daggers that you can use, and nobody will blame you for using it. So that's what really North Korea is. Hopefully people better understand. And that's why, let's say, US or Japan don't never attack North Korea, because technically, or South Korea, it's really easy to, let's say, conquer or capture, remove that regime there. It's not that hard. But everybody understands that it's really war with China. So again, those assets were hit in Iran, which is good news for Ukraine. It helps Ukraine in a very clear way, because those Iranian UAVs made a lot of damage to Ukraine, and not even just energy infrastructure on the battlefield as well. They were pretty effective, and I'm talking about the kamikaze drone. They destroyed quite a bit of sort of valuable military assets on the front line, and I'm talking about like Panzerhaubitze, Crabs, those type of assets. So hopefully that will reduce Russia's ability to use them. At the same time, there are rumors that Iran sold entire manufacturing facility, which Russia is might be assembling, and so basically it's going to have its own production facility. So we'll see what happens out of it. But regardless, overall, this is extremely helpful for Ukraine. Then there are another sort of news or discussion is that Rheinmetall is going to increase production of the 155 millimeter shells to, I think, 500,000 per year. That is actually totally not enough. That's, I think, 1.5 thousand per day, which not what is being used currently in the war. The minimum is 5,000 per day, and this is the minimum on sort of relatively quiet day. Normal sort of usage is 10-15,000 per day. So it's at the best, what, like third, and really is about 10% of what is needed. And this is going to be in the future. So the gap, so this gives you idea of the gap. That's the gap is huge. Um, and for this reason is, that's what I'm saying, that Russia, China, Iran, others, they feeling there is blood and they want to buy a piece of that meat in the West. And that's what they're doing right now. Now let's move to Ukraine. Let's first I'll touch on the power generation, power grid system. It's still alive in total coma, but surprisingly, amazingly alive. It's actually amazing how resilient it is after so many hits. Now let's walk through the front line in a clockwise fashion, starting from the north and then going down south. So first situation along the state border between Russia and Ukraine, more or less the same, more or less quiet. There were some incursions of Russian reconnaissance groups on Ukrainian territory, but nothing really sort of like earth-shattering, sort of normal sort of course of business there. Now let's jump to this north Lugansk front line. Things here more or less the same and more or less stable for Ukrainian side right now. Russian military is trying, sort of attempting to attack. Now it's switched here towards, as you can see, direction Liman, more towards southern portion of it. From sort of typically it would be in the sort of middle portion of this whole line of bridgeheads, but no success. And for now, I don't think there will be any success unless the Russian side will bring many more sort of soldiers, units, and so on. There is just right now there is relative balance, and as I said before, regular Russian army is completely inept and, for the large part, poorly motivated. So it needs, advantage of 3-5 times at least, and more like 5-6-7 times to really to do something, to achieve something, and they don't have that advantage for now. And so so this is actually in a way, like in terms of how this potential offensive is going to happen, it's going to be in like it's not going to be wide front like attack, as sort of believed by some people. It's going to be very narrow, very select section of the front line where the Russian side will create this advantage of 6, 7, 8, 9 times, 10 times in terms of soldiers, military, artillery, all of that. So because that's the only way for them to achieve something, and Russian military top is fully aware of their own sort of shortcomings and weaknesses, so they understand what they need to do, how to basically overcome their weakness. So again, the question is just the question where it's going to be, in North Luhansk or Zaporizhia. Then North Donbass is I would say, very unlikely. The same is true for central Donbass. Just, I mean, as you know, North Donbass already Wagner mercenaries there, and there is extreme tension between Russian military top and Wagner group. I would say they're just they would fight if the situation between themselves, if the situation were different. So let's put this way, they're not friends. So then the central Donbass is just too many defensive positions on the Ukrainian side. It's just going to be extremely hard to break through them. And breaking through that, you may do that, you may achieve that result, but then you will. That's all you will achieve. Just small breakthrough, and that's it. So it's kind of like World War One style, where they maybe breach through the defensive positions, but then they don't have any reserves to continue to actually exploit the breach. So this probably for that reason, the central Donbass is also very unlikely. But now let's move to North Donbass, where situation is really bad, as I mentioned before, and really things are getting from bad to worse for Ukrainian side. So it lost this village Blagodatne. So as you can see, Wagner group is basically executing on this primitive yet effective plan of outflanking Bahmut from north and south. Let me actually look at the map from that captures the southern part. So as you can see, it's it's getting more closer and closer into pincers. And at this point, as I said, the only lifeline is this road through Chromove, and Russian troops are getting closer and closer to basically cut off and essentially force retreat from Bakhmut. There are also rumors, unconfirmed, but I want to share that this area where I'm showing all the way up to the Donbass channel, freshwater channel, has been captured by Wagner mercenaries troops as well. And they even established small bridgehead on the western side of the channel. This is unconfirmed, could be totally speculative, but I just want to share. Which, if that's true, is extremely bad development. But the probability of that is, I would say, very low. That is actually true. But regardless, even if that's not true, you can see that the collapse of this section of the front line is happening faster and faster and faster pace, which again confirms my concerns that the backbone of Ukrainian units has been broken, meaning that most motivated soldiers has been essentially wasted by Ukrainian military command, and you have a lot of let's say poorly motivated people who really not willing to be used as a cannon fodder by Ukrainian military command. And to be fair, I cannot blame them. In a way, it's their rational, proper decision, actually. But that's what's a result of that. And again, this is not a problem of not sort of the fault of Ukrainian soldiers on the ground. It's really the fault of the first of all political top, because I'm not even discussing the scandals they continue rocking. And by the way, Ukrainian president is not doing anything. So all those people who were accused, they were just sort of, some of them dismissed, but the rest of it was just okay. The person stays there, no problem. Continue looting. So it's not going to be. There's no basically any kind of change coming, and this problem will become grower and bigger at this point. So. Another sign of the poor military leadership, actually, in this area is you can see there's a kind of salad of all various units. And that's a very clear sign of the failure at the military top level, not at the political. Because what happens is, military top brings whatever unit, it's get beaten down. They pull most of it. They throw a new one to get beaten down. And so instead of solving the problem, they basically putting band-aids, it gets ripped away, they throw a new band-aid, rips away. So basically this is obviously road to nowhere, and I would say road to disaster. But that's what's being done, and that's why you have sort of leftovers from different units here staying still around, which significantly demoralized, and that's why I also see this accelerating pace of collapse. So I would say the way it looks, it's possible that Russian troops may capture Bakhmut in, let's say, 10, 15 days, which so far, like let's say months ago, it looked like it will never happen at this pace. Basically the pace is accelerating, and that's very very clear negative development. Very the basically there is a problem. It will become more and more apparent that there is a acute problem, and there is no solution coming from Ukrainian political top and military top. Um, Now let's move down south. Let's look at central Donbass front line. Things here are, say, stable. Russian troops failed at capturing Vuhledar. Now they probing new area. Well, old new area, Novomikhailivka. Basically, now let's didn't work out there. This second battle of Vuhledar sort of kind of how to say fizzled out, and let's go back again, try to sort of probe other locations around, which will be the same result. So again, cannot I'm going to be broken record, but this is perfect contrast with the between sort of Soviet generals versus entrepreneurial private initiative, and it always wins relative to bureaucratic state-driven Soviet generals. So and that's why I'm saying that the problem is very deep, and actually, if not taken care of or not changed in medium term, because in the short term you cannot do it, it will really actually threaten survival of Ukraine, unless the head of, or let's say the whole Wagner group, going to get destroyed somehow in their sort of internal fight within in Russia. That's only hope, but hope is not a strategy, and hope is for the losers. Now let's quickly check the Zaporizhya front line. Things here effectively the same. There's no, sorry, I didn't update the remote Azov, but it's not here anymore. That's it for today. Thanks again for watching, and till later. Bye bye.